If you want to become whole, first let yourself become broken. If you want to become straight, first let yourself become twisted. If you want to become full, first let yourself become empty. If you want to become new, first let yourself become old. Those whose desires are few get them. Those whose desires are great go astray. For this reason, the Master embraces the Tao as an example for the world to follow. Because she isn't self-centered, people can see the light in her. Because she does not boast of herself, she becomes a shining example. Because she does not glorify herself, she becomes a person of merit. Because she wants nothing from the world cannot overcome her. When the ancient masters said, if you want to become whole, then first let yourself become broken, they weren't using empty words. All who do this will be made complete. Desires are part of our basic biology. Our brains are literally wired to desire things, and it's a good thing too, because these mechanisms keep us alive by pushing us to acquire what is needed for our daily survival. However, desires can get out of hand, and usually they do. Most of us live in a state of being constantly dominated by our desires. Chapter 22 of the Tao Te Ching offers advice on how to avoid this. The recipe is simple. If you really want something, first allow yourself to be reconciled with its opposite. Surrender yourself to the possibility of getting the exact opposite of whatever it is that you want. This attitude has many benefits. First of all, it leads to increased peace of mind. We are much more content when we adapt to circumstances that lay out of our control, rather than worrying about them, or trying to force them to be something that they are not. Another benefit is that doing this pulls our minds out of the future, where we are hoping something will happen or not happen, and sets us firmly in the present, where all peace, joy, and love is. You cannot experience joy while being focused on the future. You can experience fear, anticipation, or greed, but not joy. Joy is a feeling that only happens in the present. Additionally, when we allow ourselves to experience the opposite of what we think we want, we often learn a lot about what we really want. Opposition is at the heart of the universe itself, and is present in everything we do and experience. Our minds even require opposition in order to really wrap our heads around concepts. Think about it. Would you really understand what a good friend was if you had never experienced a bad one? Would you even have a concept of what darkness was if you had never seen light? Opposition gives us clarity and understanding. We never really understand anything until we first understand its opposite. The same goes for our desires. We often only realize what we really want when we are in the depths of that which we don't want. I hear stories all the time about friends or acquaintances going through several years of a major in college, only to find out near the end that they actually hate the subject once they get into an internship or some real on-the-job experience. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, about 80% of college students will change their major at least once, and on average, students will change their major 3 times or more. Why is this? Because sometimes you think you like something until you realize that you don't. Sometimes you think you don't like something until you realize that you do. In short, we come to know what we want by coming to know what we don't want. This is the point of opposition, to give us an understanding of things that we could just not attain to without the understanding of their opposites. Therefore, when we experience opposition in our lives, we shouldn't think that something has gone wrong. It hasn't. It's part of the plan. Now, I think there's something we should understand about the line, those whose desires are few get them, and those whose desires are great go astray. I don't think that we should take this line to mean that we are entitled to any particular desire because we only have a few desires. Doing this would be an example of the all I want state of mind. For example, all I want is 10 minutes of peace and quiet, or all I want is a half-decent cup of coffee. Is that so hard? The all I want state of mind is dangerous because it puts us in a place of entitlement and gratifies our selfishness. It tempts us to give a pass to our obstinacy to get what we want, simply because we have convinced ourselves that what we want is simple or easy to acquire. The reality, of course, is that in this world, pretty much all desires are subject to laws of temporality, which means that pretty much all desires have the potential to be denied, even simple ones. You cannot force the universe to give you what you want by minimizing what you want, as if desires were purchased with some sort of karmic currency that you could budget and save and eventually spend on something. That is not how things work, at least in this world. Therefore, we are much better off letting go of our arbitrary claims on the universe, and staying rooted in the simplicity and contentment of the present moment. When the text says, those whose desires are great go astray, I don't think we should look at this simply in terms of quantity, but rather on the quality of our desires. How do we desire things? Are we the masters of our desires, or do they master us? Are they able to control our thoughts in idle moments, or our moods when they do and don't happen? At the end of the day, I think a pretty good litmus test for the quality of a desire is whether or not it allows you to stay focused in the present, or if you find yourself constantly being drawn away from the present by thoughts, hopes, or fears about the future and what it will hold for this particular desire. If you can spend several hours working towards a desire or goal, and then set it aside and attend to your other present duties and experiences without being drawn back into constant thoughts about that desire, then I think you're on the right track. If you find yourself constantly thinking about that desire though, and if it has the power to change your attitude or mind based on whether it's working out or not, I think it might be time for you to do some internal work on this desire. Reconcile and surrender to the possibility of this desire never working out. Imagine what that would feel like. Imagine what you would do if that opportunity was gone forever. Would you survive? Would you be able to eventually move on? Chances are that if you really think about it, you probably would. Perhaps it would take some time, perhaps a long time, but eventually you could get over it. If we can learn to practice this kind of mastery over desire, we will find ourselves more open to intuition, more at peace, and more in harmony with the Tao. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow for chapter 22. Peace and blessings.